Andrew Thompson here of the Andrew Thompson Interviews YouTube channel. I have a very special guest on the other end of the line with me today. She is Yali Sapphire. Yali, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me today.
No problem, no problem. So now, for those of you who don't know, Yali is a professional wrestling referee based out of the Midwest, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just to start, talk about your earliest memories of pro wrestling.
I remember watching Monday Night Raw as a kid, back in I want to say 1999, so it's been a long time. But
Mm.
I just remember seeing Triple H and Test and Stone Cold Steve Austin on TV, thinking it was the craziest thing I'd ever seen before. And I quickly fell in love with it.
Now, were you a wrestler prior to becoming a referee, or was becoming official always a goal of yours?
Oh no, not at all. I think like most kids, I wanted to become a wrestler, but as I got older, I thought that I was probably too small to do it. So I decided to take a safer route and become a referee.
What are some of the promotions that you've been able to work for throughout your time? Because like when I first discovered you, or first saw you when the Black Wrestling Alliance posted, they did like a profile on you, and I was like, oh, that's real cool. We have another African American female referee. I was like, that's really nice. It's really good to see that. And that's when I started looking into more of you, and I was like, oh, this is like really cool, because like, and I was just wondering, like, where did you get your start? Like, how did you get into the business?
Well, I started here in Kansas City, Missouri at a wrestling school. Um, they opened up, and within months of them opening, I actually started training. But since then, over the past 5 years, I've worked all over Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and more specifically NXT down in Florida.
Okay. Yeah, Yali, to me, I think referees are some of the best interviews, because you guys literally get to see like everything, like not only from the wrestler's perspective, but you guys also get like some of the like the backstage stuff as well. What do you think about the current landscape of professional wrestling right now? Disregarding the current situation with the coronavirus, we won't get into that later. But just tell me, like, prior to that, how did you think the wrestling business was faring?
I was really optimistic about it because you had so many promotions starting up, especially like AEW, that's giving people another place to work and another place to get their name out there and to
Mm.
gain popularity. So I was really optimistic about it and excited for the future of pro wrestling because there's so many uh, styles of wrestling that fans can watch now.
Now, as an official, I know you have at least a few of these. I need your wildest story from in the ring. I know everybody has one. Like I remember a while back I interviewed referee Chris Levin, and he told me that there was one time he took a chair shot to the head from Sammy Callahan a while. And I was like, oh my goodness. And I know there's one wild story from in the ring that every official has.
Yeah, for me, it's just the crazy, unexpected things happen. Like, I've been involved in a steel cage match,
Um,
and there was a guy who climbed the cage and then flipped off of it, and just it's incredible seeing what the human body can survive through.
all right.
And but yeah, I've seen guys get busted open. I've been thrown around a few times and lifted up, and uh, sometimes guys when they're throwing steel chairs in the ring from the fans or from the audience, like they're not really aiming that chair. So there have been a few times where I've had to duck a few chairs.
As they on a more serious note, as I mentioned before, like it's very cool to see another African American woman, refereeing. It's cool to see women, like the progression of women's wrestling as a whole. What does it mean to you to be a part of the rise, just in general, of Black people in professional wrestling, like old wrestlers, people in production, ring announcers, referees, etc.
It's definitely an unexpected challenge. Like there are some places you go today and you don't feel that there's, um, I guess I want to say like racial tension,
Right.
but we're still breaking down barriers within the business and trying to get our name out there and also trying to be treated with respect. But it's definitely exciting though when I realize that I'm making a difference and when I see, young Black girls looking up to me and realizing that there's nothing in this world that they can't do.
Right, and I feel like that's probably like one of the underrated aspects of what you guys do, just wrestlers, referees, like those within the business. I feel like that's one of the underrated aspects is the children that see y'all, like, and specifically young black children that get to see you guys and like, oh, they look like me, man. Maybe I can do this if I want to, type thing. And disregarding all the hurdles that may come their way, they're just looking straight forward at you guys and seeing, hey, maybe I can do that one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
And it's definitely fun,
yeah, so
It's
uh,
struggle.
I said, do you think? Well, not that you think, but have you faced any setbacks, on your journey thus far? Because you are an African American woman, like, do you think that has sort of played a like, well maybe hinder you a bit at times?
Yeah, definitely. When I started out, not just being black, but being a female, there were
Right.
times when people wouldn't even bother looking at my skill and my in-ring ability. They just take one look at me and say no. And so I had to overcome that. And you'll hear a lot of people say that the only way to be successful is to get used to hearing no.
Mm.
And but once you get over that, I mean, it's about voicing your not your so much your opinion, but letting people know that hey, I'm good at what I do. I have the ability to be the best, and I'm not going anywhere. You can't give up.
Now wrestling, it's a predominantly white male sport for the most part. But the diversity over the past 5 years, I would say, has like grown tremendously. Like, there's so many different races, so many different ethnicities in pro wrestling. Like today, and so many of those people are at the top level, and it's real good to see. Do you feel the same about the diversity as far as that change over the last 5 to 6 years?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I started out, there were times where I was the only black person in the locker room and the only female in the locker room.
Mm.
But now today, there are so many more diverse people, and I don't feel so alone. And it's just, I think overall, it makes a better product because with African American wrestlers or referees, you're also bringing in more African American fans to these small indie shows.
Mm-hmm. I say,
So it's just
oh, you good? You
business
continue.
growth. Oh, sorry.
I said you can
I
continue.
was I was just saying that it's helping the business grow more, and fans are definitely taking
Yeah,
notice.
I definitely think they are. Now, Yali, I know you mentioned earlier that you did some work for NXT and had a WWE trial, I believe. Tell me about those experiences and what that was like for you overall, and just how that helped you as far as your skills as an official.
It definitely gave me a perspective on what the WWE is looking for. Sorry. But it was a lot of fun, and I got the chance to work three NXT live events down in Florida, and got to just see how that machine known as the WWE operates.
I say, well, now, and while doing some research for this interview, I noticed that you had your own YouTube channel. You guys go check that out, referee Yali Sapphire. Everybody can go check that out. During a time like this specifically, with the coronavirus, how important and how that virus has affected the pro wrestling business, as we already seen. So many shows have been canceled. So many promoters are, some are scrambling, just to even, do empty arena shows so they can generate that income for their wrestlers and referees and production crew and stuff like that. How important do you think it is for wrestlers at this time to, start preparing for that, their post career? Because you see a lot of, even some wrestlers now, they have, like, YouTube channels, even like how you do, they have podcasts or they have some extracurricular activity that they can generate income from. How important do you think it is now that this experience that we're all going through right now, specifically in pro wrestling though, how important do you think it is now for wrestlers to realize, hey, maybe I should try to, start up a business, or, try to get some type of outside venture in, while I'm doing professional wrestling, because I don't know how long this might last, and it might not even be something, career ending wise. Like, it could be a situation like this where it just completely stops everything.
Yeah, I think it's extremely important. I mean, no one saw this coming. Like, wrestling was kind of that thing that you assumed would always be around, but it's definitely shocked a lot of wrestlers, and some of them have even considered doing like internet shows now,
Mm-hmm.
or like you said, empty arena shows to help supplement their income because there are a lot of wrestlers out there that only have pro wrestling to provide for their family and to, take care of their bills. So I think it's really important for everyone to realize that the thing that you thought would never change, it's now changing.
Mm.
But it's definitely been challenging for a lot of the guys and girls out there.
As a like I think that's one of the things specifically about independent wrestling that I don't think a lot of people realize because like we see the wrestlers. I'm talking about me from a fan's perspective. We see the wrestlers and like it's like, you think they're everybody's good and everybody's okay, but like you gotta realize that some of these people like this like pro wrestling is all they have so there are some who have outside jobs, but just for those who specifically rely on pro wrestling for that income, this situation like greatly damages their entire life situation, and then it damages the independent scene as well because we even saw situations earlier like how some promotions they empty the bank on WrestleMania weekend and hope to make that revenue back, but since that got canceled, you basically just losing all of that money. Like you can't get the flights back, you can't get the hotel back, and it's very damaging to the independent scene.
Yeah, you're right about that. I think right now I would definitely want to encourage fans to, buy merchandise. There are a lot of wrestlers who have stores set up on Pro Wrestling Tees, or maybe they have their, own personal websites.
Mm,
But like, if you're a fan of pro wrestling and there's an indie wrestler that you want to help support, definitely buy their merch, buy their t-shirts.
yep. Yali, are there any promotions that you like tuning into just from a France perspective? Are there any promotions or wrestlers that you like watching?
Yeah, I always like tuning into like AEW,
Mm,
Ring of Honor, still Impact, and WWE. I'll always be a fan of those two companies. Right now, I'm a huge fan of the wrestlers that I guess I've gotten the opportunity to work with. So like I've been watching a lot of NWA Power and the wrestlers on there.
okay. What wrestlers have you had the opportunity to work with that are on NWA Power?
The biggest one, Nick
Oh
Aldis, I had
wow.
the chance to work with him. Yeah,
And,
he's a
and
great guy to work with.
he's always like in that Midwest area. Though, like I know they were always like the NWA. They would normally run that area before they converted into NWA Power. That was like a mainstay for them, especially for Nick Aldis and defending the NWA World Title, and Tim Storm and those guys.
Right, yeah. And Tim Storm is another one that I get to do shows with every now and then.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, they've got a big um fan base growing, especially now that they're on the Fight TV app.
right. It's crazy too because like even like because most would think that professional wrestling, those that aren't like within that that extra bubble that we're in is like they see wrestling on TV and think that is it, but like it's so many different services and so many different outlets that people can watch professional wrestling on. Like you mentioned, we have Fight, we got IWTV, which I think is like legit one of the best streaming services like for independent wrestling. Like it is crazy. Like their archive system is ridiculous. Just tell me your thoughts about you know these different outlets that we have, like you mentioned NWA Power on YouTube. Like we have so many different outlets in wrestling, and it's not just this one thing. There's so many different options for people to watch.
Yeah, I think it's really convenient because, when I was growing up, all you had was the wrestling that you saw on TV. And if you had like one of those giant satellite dishes in your yard, maybe you could see something else. But like nowadays you can watch stuff in Japan and all over the world and on so many apps, so many streaming services. It's really convenient, like fans, there's no excuse not to watch wrestling or um in a way I kind of feel like there's almost too much wrestling
Oh yeah, it
too.
definitely is. It definitely. I could tell you that from like a person that covers like wrestling news. Like is a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
wrestling to watch, man. It's different stuff going on every day. Like I noticed yesterday I was watching the IWTV thing and something popped up and it said that GCW was going live for their show. I was like, they going live? Like when did this happen? I saw they had another show today, and like you said, it's a lot of wrestling going on, but it's good for everybody because that opens more opportunities for more people, even referees. Like that gives you guys more work, and I think that's good for everybody as a whole. Like eventually, when this situation blows over, hopefully it's very fast, and the scene can
Yeah.
pick back up. Yali, I did want to ask you, have you ever been like refereed overseas before?
I'm sorry I haven't, but I would love to, especially now that I feel like I'm good enough because, of course, when I started out, I didn't think I was good enough to like travel outside of Missouri, let alone outside of the country. But I would love to like work in Japan and England and
Mm.
even Africa too.
Yeah, I know there's some there's a wrestling promotion in Africa. I believe it's Slam Force. I think that's the one that's based
Yes.
based out of Africa. And you know what? I think it'd be really cool to see you in Japan too. I think that'd be cool. Like
Yeah.
specifically talking, like, would you be interested in like a a Stardom or a DDT or Tokyo Joshi Pro, like any of those promotions in Japan?
Yeah, absolutely. All of those, to be honest with you. I
That's
just want to be everywhere.
That's it. That's good to hear. Yali. Lastly, here, one of the final questions. So when the pro wrestling boom picks back up, after this whole situation fades out, hopefully, like again, fades away very quickly. Where do you see yourself in the coming months? Goals that you have, promotions that you want to work for, and people that you like to share the wing with.
Well, my main goal is to get out and travel more. I would love to start working closer to the East Coast, like New York and Pennsylvania and those areas. But right now, I'll be still working in Texas, Kansas, and Missouri over the next couple of weeks. Well, over the next few months, because the next weeks are canceled for me.
Yeah, yeah. So I hope this, because it's I really don't like seeing like what's happening right now, because it's like I even see like a lot of wrestlers and just everybody in wrestling right now, like it's a real trying time, and I can tell like a lot of people's spirits are like kind of down, and it's like and it's hard not to feel for people, man, even yourself, because I know it's like it's like I don't really know how to describe it, man. It's a weird time in the
Yeah, it
world,
is.
like like just not even just in wrestling. It's just a weird time in the world right now, and hopefully things blow over. But yeah, Yali, is there anything that you want to plug? I'm plug your social media in the in the comment section. Make sure everybody can go follow you on Instagram and Twitter. Is there any merchandise you want to plug or anything of the sort?
Yes, sir. If fans want to buy my merch, they can find me at yali.bigcartel.com, or they can even find that link to my online store on my Facebook page at Yali Sapphire.
There we go. You can follow Yali on Twitter and Instagram at the female ref. Yali, once again, I do want to thank you for your time. I appreciate the great conversation, and hopefully the situation blows over soon, so we can see you all over the place, and even in Japan. Hopefully one day in the UK, everywhere. Yali Sapphire, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.